And now for the moment that you have all been waiting for, the part 2 of the Basilia Council, known as the Augury Syndicate, that you liked and followed for, which is the first time I've ever done a like and follow for part 2, and it made me feel weird and I didn't like it at all. So to recap what's going on, this is Vassadal, a continent burst out of conflict and exile, which, believe it or not, after a couple thousand years of existence is still undergoing conflict. The east half of the continent, known as the Old Empire of Exenir, and a super old elven Asimar by the name of Queen Madrivit Zerbe, has been the primary existing ruling power for literally longer than anyone alive can remember. The west half of the continent, and in particular a guy by the name of Moros Salrog, said, "I hate that," and now this corner of the continent calls themselves Antakara, and is a new empire. Oh, what's this in the upper left corner that is neither old or new empire? That's Savaroth, which are the sacred lands scorched by the goddess of death, Anatarat. We don't talk about Savaroth. There's a fun city by the name of Basilia. It's the record-keeping center of the old empire and is literally just a city that is full of libraries. This city is run by the Augury Syndicate, a council of 8 people voted in by the citizens of Basilia. The seats are currently held by Abiana Oraya, Calulus Beaumont, Luciano Ignolo, Magda Mackay, Solanum Dolramun, Erelian Vondegath, Silva Coletso, and Ricart Urahal. And all this is part of a big old campaign that I meant to run ages ago and then got carried away with, and now we have a ton of new monsters, lovable NPCs, tons of potential conflicts, and side quests, and now here we are, and it's going to be a while. So let's get into drawing the last 3 members of the Augury Syndicate. Character number 1 is Erelian Vondegath, who is one of the first characters that I came up with for the Augury Syndicate, and is definitely one of my favorite character concepts for this entire campaign. And not just like a Basilia Council favorite, not just an aesthetics favorite, just genuinely this character has a lot of potential as an NPC. Erelian is a lawful good warforged character, if you can't already tell from the drawing, and he was built by a human artificer by the name of Athalian Gathnar. Athalian built this warforge during the founding days of Basilia and the Augury Syndicate over 700 years ago, which makes Erelian the 3rd oldest sentient mortal on the continent that isn't undead. Not that there are any major plot points involving long thought to be dead but actually not dead anymore beings as a result of a false history that has been woven to hide the true origins of Vassadal and the Exenir Empire or anything like that. Erelian was built to take the place of Athalian on the Augury Syndicate when Athalian died, and even as the Syndicate grew and changed over time, Erelian's presence as a calm, patient, and effective member of the Council is never questioned, and he has maintained his position on the Syndicate for over 600 years. With older magic and components to his being, Erelian was not made for socializing with humans. He was made specifically for analytical and logical decisions for court cases, and in many ways the modern Warforged is, in terms of mechanical and magical components, much better equipped for modern social interactions and relationships. However, after being around for many hundreds of years, and despite a small social disconnect, Erelian has been known to make what appears to be rulings out of compassion in court cases, and has seemed to naturally have learned and developed a wide range of human emotions, including mourning, as he often visits the gravesite of Athalian Gathnar, even after the many hundreds of years that have gone by. Now, I know that there are a few of you out there who are only following me as a result of me talking about League of Legends seriously literally one time, so I have to address this. I know Erelian's name sounds like Erelian as in Erelian Soul, and I already have a character named Ionia. In my defense, Ionia was named after a random county in Michigan that I thought sounded cool, but Erelian, I might have to admit that that was probably something I dug out of my subconscious, because I'm pretty sure that I came up with this character just around the same time that my partner was getting into League of Legends. So yeah, you got me. I'm a no good name stealer, but come on, Erelian Vondegath, doesn't that just like roll off the tongue? Anyways, this next character is also one that I enjoyed thoroughly when designing his sort of background story. And I never want to go into too much description when coming up with backstories for NPCs, because I always feel like it's best practice to leave wiggle room for DMs to come up with their own stuff, but I just have a lot of thoughts and ideas for this guy. I'll give you the bare bones of his character and motivations, and then tell you a bit about what I wanted to have planned for him. This character's name is Silva Coletso. Silva Coletso is an unassuming male tiefling who was born and raised in Basilia, a very for the people person, but one of the younger members who's had had a much shorter term on the council. While most people agree he is strikingly handsome, most members and citizens value him for the simple, quiet, and straightforward work that he does, and also admire him for his relatively simple lifestyle. Granted, simple in comparison to the stereotype of the extravagant lifestyle that people would expect of tieflings. However, the truth of this character is not so simple, and has been disclosed to a very select few. Silva, in their natural form, is a perfect androgynous figure with pale skin, hair, and eyes. The changeling was switched with a child in Basilia and had their Fae name taken from them. The changeling, though young, decided instead of being a beacon of chaos for the Fae that stole their life, successfully assumed the identity of the boy Silva Calypso, and continues to remain in that identity with as few people as possible the wiser. Mostly attempting to live a quiet life of an upstanding citizen, Silva plays the role of the perfect councilman by day. However, as the hours grow late and the eyes of the citizens no longer watch, Silva takes some of the matters that the law cannot address into his own hands. In truth, Silva cares nothing about the record-keeping and history aspects of Basilia. Their focus is primarily in what can be done to make the future of Basilia and the rest of the continent better. In particular, Silva will counteract the abuse and mistreatment of children in Basilia and these sort of outer-lying cities, and consequently he has a large network of orphans of various ages and skills who will do just about anything within their power to help him. Just trying to rehome and connect people and teach kids and provide resources for them, but because the kids have trust issues already and they're so determined to prove their value to this person, they feel like they need to make it up to them by being a secret spy network. And Silva's like, great, guess now I'm a parent. I don't hate it, but please, I think I'm underqualified, and the fact that you keep running into the streets and hunting down people that you think are bad guys is stressing me out. What I love about this character is that Silva is a true neutral character, both intentionally well connected and also leading this double life. This person is really more of a plant than anything. There's a kid keeping an eye out on pretty much every street corner. Silva is one of the 8 highest ranking officials in a city that has direct ties to the capital of the old empire and the empress herself, and that means it's definitely within their capabilities to be a character who can watch the party almost anywhere it goes in the old empire. And honestly, with as much of a double life that is being lived, it wouldn't even be a stretch to say that Silva has connections in Icthrul, where Merilith, Ezra, and Isegwin are living. On the other hand, if Silva is not a key character in keeping an eye on the party, they're a good member to earn the favor of. Neither a self-serving person nor acting particularly lawful, and Silva's got all those connections that were mentioned before. Sure, might not be the most long-standing or powerful person on the Augury Syndicate, but a friend on the council is not a trivial thing. Okay, I really loved in the drawing how Silva's face came out. While the two-tone thing is not ever something Silva would actually disclose in front of the Syndicate, I think it really portrays the hidden changeling aspect of the character. And obviously I added all my favorite details that I like to put on my characters because Silva is supposed to be a very attractive person. So we've got the rolled up sleeves on a white shirt, we've got the little jewelry and earrings that I always like to put on my characters, also a tiny little bit of out of place stray hair. Wait, maybe I've just been reading too many webtoons and looking at too many male leads. But come on, it's a look for a reason. Last, we have another masculine character, and I think this is the first time I've done multiple characters in one video that are all sort of masculine. Granted, Silva's technically androgynous, and also I guess Erelian is genderless, but I'm not gonna nitpick over my own NPCs. This is Ricart Urahal, who is an aarakocra who has unmatched financial wisdom and ability, who actually, before becoming a member of the Syndicate, worked directly for King Adrastos of Karados, a kingdom that is a subset of the Exenir Empire in the northeastern corner of the continent of Asadal. However, Ricart loved his hometown so much that he eventually returned from Karados to Basilia, and there his humility, dedication to his hometown, and incredible head for numbers earned him his spot on the Augury Syndicate. Yes, he is a chicken, and I really want to make a joke that I came up with in an incredibly sleep-deprived state. I've been thinking about this joke for the last 2 days, but I'm kind of afraid that I can't say it because the big YouTube is going to come find me and take me out. So I'm just going to say, he puts the rooster in aarakocra. Okay, it wasn't that funny. You know what else isn't funny? Stealing art. So I have to admit that this character design is way too close for my personal comfort to the inspiration picture. I promise I was looking at a different picture of a rooster when I drew this, but this inspiration picture was the one that made me decide I needed 8 members on the Augury Syndicate instead of 7. I saw this image a year ago. It's drawn by Junling Wang, and it's part of a 12 image series that includes all of the animals in the Chinese zodiac sort of anthropomorphized, and it's a really beautiful series. I love every single image and I highly recommend looking through it, but I saw this rooster and I knew that I had to have him on the council. I knew in my heart that not enough aarakocras are chicken themed, and obviously this image in conjunction with the name Ricart burned itself into my brain because I had no intention of these two images being this similar, even down to the tiny glasses, which is so unfortunate because I feel so guilty about it in hindsight. So maybe I'll update the image before putting it in my book to try to make it a little bit more different, but this truly is the vision of who I believe Ricart to be. And with that, I believe we have our collective completed. I do a little bit of rearranging so there's better balance throughout the image, and also add a bit of quilting and embroidery to Aviana Arai's clothing like I said in the last video, and I also added a dark contrasting background which may or may not appear in the final book, but I thought it looked nicer than the height chart. And with that, we have completed the Augury Syndicate. Calalis Beaumont, Solanum Dolramund, Abiana Araya, Magda Mackay, Luciano Ignolo, Silva Coletso, Ricart Urahal, and Erelian Vondegath. When I finished part 1 of the Basilia Council, I was really worried that this image would not turn out at all like I had hoped. I thought it was going to be cramped and mismatching and unbalanced and just overall very disappointing to me, especially since I've held this concept for these characters in my head for so long. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to measure up to that expectation, but truly with the addition of these 3 characters, I think I'm pretty happy with how the whole spread has come out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole crew, all their little backstory snippets, your headcanons about the characters, which designs are your favorite, anything like that. As per always, I love reading your comments and getting to talk to you all. It's literally my favorite thing to just read through the kind comments that everyone leaves for me. But with that, we bring the series on the Augury Syndicate to a close, and hopefully I never have to do a like and follow for part 2 ever again. But I gotta say, with how my schedule is going these days, oof, who knows? Not me.